Well, guys, we're less than 2 weeks away from the CONCACAF Nations League quarterfinals, which means it's time for predictions to see which 4 teams will directly qualify into 2024 Copa America. Guys, Matty G back here with you on Football with Flags. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's get to it. Now, for those who saw our preview video on these matchups last week, you're going to see some similar information on here. But again, just wanting to touch base for those who are new to this video or the channel. Honduras only had 2 shots on frame through the last 180 minutes that they've played Mexico. They ran a 4-2-3-1 in their 4-0 loss, but ran a 4-5-1 in their 1-0 loss. I think that's important to note. I think a 4-5-1 would be smart for them or something similar, just to compact the midfield as much as possible, force play wide. We know how dangerous Mexico can be from corners, set pieces, crosses, etc. But still, I think Honduras would be smart to not allow them to break lines, break channels easily, especially through their back four. So they've got to keep the ball out wide as much as possible. And Honduras, we know, just need to break the flow of play. Mexico are going to want to be fast. They're going to want to come out of the gates hot and look to score on them as quickly as possible. And if Honduras lose the ball in their own half or in the midfield, it's going to be very dangerous because Mexico's going to want to counter with numbers if they can, find the open space, and look to get after them going forward. And we know how special Mexico can be with that, so that's definitely something Honduras is going to have to look out for. As you can see there on the right-hand side, the dates for these 2 games, Honduras being at home for the first leg, I think is important. They've really got to try and keep a clean sheet, at least through the first 45 minutes, and of course have at least some sort of result through the first leg if they want to have a chance, in my opinion. Even if they go down 1 or 2-0 going into the second leg, I think that will be okay. But of course, Honduras are going to look to have maybe at least a 0-0 draw or pull out some type of win in that first leg going into Mexico. But in the end, we'll have to wait and see. Over under in terms of the number of goals in these 2 legs, I think it'll be over 5. I just think that depending on how that first leg goes, Mexico could really put it on them in the second leg if they're able to secure a victory in that first leg, knowing that Honduras is going to have to come after them in the second leg and score goals and open the field of play a lot. But for me, I definitely have Mexico advancing to the semifinals for this Nations League quarterfinal with an opportunity to automatically advance, of course, to Copa. On to the next, which is Costa Rica and Panama, which on paper might be the most balanced matchup between all of these 8 teams, but really intriguing matchup for sure. Some very tight games the last few times out that they've played one another. In total, Panama have won on aggregate 3-1 in their last 2 contests. As you can see there on the right-hand side, their games being November 16th and November 20th. Costa Rica being at home to start things off, and then going to Panama, of course, for the second leg. This is going to be a really tight matchup, and like we talked about in the preview, these teams actually switched formations when they played one another. Panama had a 3-4-3, Costa Rica ran a 5-4-1, and then they flip-flopped the next time they played one another. I would really like to see both of these sides come out in almost identical formations. I think that would be really interesting to watch, whether it's a 5-4-1, 4-5-1, or a 4-3-3, something like that. But would really love to watch these 2 get after each other. They have a lot of talent on both sides, and I think that both, when they're moving the ball forward in the attack, are really fun to watch as well. Costa Rica, though, only had 6 shot attempts on goal through both games against Panama. They're going to have to take care of their chances better. I know that this team is good going forward, obviously using Joel Campbell and others, even though he's starting to age out a little bit, but still a side that can put some good runs together, put some goals together as well. We saw some great performances that they had in the World Cup after getting thumped by Spain in that opening matchup. So we know they can do it. But as for Panama, they've been on a great run as of late, getting to the Gold Cup final, as we all saw, beating the United States in that semifinal. Obviously, they're wanting to get back to being a really prominent force here in CONCACAF, and this would be a huge opportunity if they win this tie to advance to Copa America. Panama, we know, are going to be dangerous on headers. They scored 2 headers in that 2-1 win against Costa Rica. So Costa Rica are going to have to cover their runners better, not allow them to get in behind or find space to exploit in terms of scoring opportunities in their box. Costa Rica's going to have to be able to manage that better. But in terms of over/under, in terms of the number of goals, I definitely think we'll see over. Hopefully, it's not too cagey. I feel like that first leg probably will be, but depending on the score line going into the second leg, I think we'll see it really open up and both teams get after each other, hopefully score a lot of goals. So I'm going to say over 4 goals in total for both of these legs, but I do like Panama to advance to the semifinals of the CONCACAF Nations League. Now on to Canada and Jamaica, another very enticing matchup between these two sides. Two sides really looking to break onto the scene in terms of CONCACAF and just show that they can be a dominant power as well. And, we saw how well Canada did during World Cup qualifying. Obviously not the run they wanted in the World Cup, but still, they've got a very talented group and are on the up, as well as Jamaica, who have maybe the best attacking power that they've ever had with, Damari Gray, Antonio, Leon Bailey, and others. This side is really, really talented up top. The only thing for me, though, between these two sides is they are a bit skeptical in the back. They can be exposed for sure. I think Jamaica have a bit of an edge with Andre Blake in goal, but both sides really defensively can be poor at times. So I would love to see both of these teams really go after each other in terms of getting the ball forward, getting numbers up, really trying to create overloads on each of the wings, but also just be, penetrating with their runs and passes through gaps in the midfield and the back lines as they're looking to go forward. But this is a really, really exciting matchup for one of these sides, because whoever loses, in my opinion, I think the loser still wins one of the single leg playoffs and advances to Copa America. But still, obviously, you don't want to have to go take that risk. You want to try and get it done now. But you can see there on the right side, Jamaica starting at home on the 17th, and then Canada the 21st. I definitely think we'll see over 4 goals in total through the tie, through both of these games. I certainly hope we do, at least. I mean, they both just have so much talent moving forward. You talk about Tajon Buchanan, Junior Hoylett, Kyle Larin, Alphonso Davies, so many other names I could mention as well, too, with Canada. Just a lot of great talent on both sides in terms of attacking options. So definitely would love to see more than 4 goals through both of these games in total. But for me right now, I do have Canada taking the edge over Jamaica. I think they were a bit difficult to trust in that game against Mexico during the semifinal of the Gold Cup. I was really expecting more from Jamaica. I think they'll step up to the challenge. I think they're going to give Canada a great run for their money in these 2 games, but I still like Canada to advance. But again, I still think if Jamaica do lose, that they will possibly, or more than likely, win one of the 2 single leg playoffs to advance as well. Last but not least, we have the United States and Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, through score lines, the most lopsided of all the ties that we have to date with their last 2 meetings. Of course, the U.S. winning 7-0 and then 6-0. The Trinidad ran a 4-2-3-1 in one of those contests, and then in the other, a 4-3-3. I know this isn't saying much, considering obviously both score lines were pretty bad, but I think Trinidad should definitely stick with maybe a 4-2-3-1, 4-5-1, maybe a 5-4-1. Really pack it in. Especially in their own half with numbers, because of course we know the U.S. is probably going to have a good portion of possession through these 2 games. And I think a 4-3-3 is just way too dangerous, way too much space in the midfield to get exploited. I think they need to pack numbers in as best they can, look to counter out when they have opportunities to win turnovers, win the ball back through crosses, interceptions, etc., whatever it may be. But again, for the United States, obviously we know how well Jesus Ferreira has done against Trinidad as of late. He scored 5 goals in their last 2 games against Trinidad, so I'm sure more than likely he'll be a part of this roster coming up for these 2 games, unless for some reason he gets injured. But then again, as I say that, I know the MLS playoffs are going on right now, so he probably might not actually be a part of it at all. We'll have to wait and see. But for this tie, though, again, as you can see there on the right-hand side, the U.S. playing at home first. I think that's going to bode well for them. If they can get on Trinidad early, could really put this tie to bed through the first leg, possibly. We'll have to wait and see. Trinidad's just going to have to play well, really defend well as a unit, and take care of any chances that they get going forward, because I definitely think the United States are going to be all over them. But in terms of the total number of goals, over or under, being 13, I think we'll see under. I think the U.S. will dominate this tie and in the end win, of course, pretty comfortably. But I don't know if we'll see a total of 13 goals scored through the two legs. I think if the U.S. do for some reason score a lot in that first leg, they'll obviously switch a lot of guys out and maybe look to play more conservative, of course, knowing that they've got more games ahead in the future, not only for their guys, for their club, but for the country as well. So if the U.S. can get on them early, I definitely don't think we'll see over 13 goals, but we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully Trinidad get on the board and keep this tie exciting as well. But in the end, I still do have the U.S. moving on. So there you have it, guys, for our predictions in terms of these quarterfinals for the CONCACAF Nations League. And what you see there on the screen, I'm pretty confident is what we'll see in terms of semifinal matchups. If all of those teams win, I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to wait and see. And then, of course, still undetermined in terms of what they'll do with the 4 teams that lose. As far as matchups, pairings, which teams we'll see face off against one another in those single game playoffs. But I'm pretty confident if all of these teams do win that we have predicted, those are the matchups that we'll see in the semifinals with Mexico and Panama and the United States and Canada. Well, guys, that wraps up today's video. Thanks again so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And please let us know down in the comments as well who you're rooting for, your own predictions as well for these quarterfinal matchups. We love engaging with you guys when it comes to all of that as well. But again, a lot of exciting stuff coming your way, not only with CONCACAF, but CONMEBOL, Africa, Asia, Europe, all of it coming your way shortly. So again, guys, stay tuned. I hope you all have a blessed day, and we will see you soon. Peace.